Welcome to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Zeke Cappel.
And today we're going to talk about some really important news in the basketball world. We're going to talk about what team LeBron James is going to hypothetically go to. And there are a lot of them. I think there are 7 that he's really considering.
Yeah, so I don't remember if he announced or if ESPN announced that LeBron is only really interested in 7 teams, and those teams are Boston, the Cavs, which is the one he's on, the Lakers, the Spurs, Philly, Houston, and the Warriors. And we're going to go over every single one of them, give the positive and negatives, what would happen if he had to go there, and if he would realistically go there.
Yeah. For starting off, I guess I want to talk about the Sixers.
Sure.
I think
you go ahead. Sorry, man.
All right. I think it is possible. I'm just afraid that maybe it might not be the best move for him because they are really young still. I mean, the only way I think it's a really positive move is if they are actually able to get Paul George too in the same time. So because if not, then there's still going to be some problems because the Sixers, I think, are losing J.J. Redick this season, and he definitely brought them a lot in terms of like 3-point shooting. He shot really well last season. I think he shot like 40%, above 40%. And without him, they don't really have that 3-point shot unless maybe Markelle Fultz gets better at shooting. But I find that a little hard to believe as well, even though I do think Markelle Fultz could be good at shooting again. But he had to rework his whole shot. And they also have Ben Simmons, who just can't shoot at all. And that's just how he's been forever. So that would be kind of scary for LeBron to go to that team and then have to go against the Warriors, who are a team will potentially go against the Warriors in the finals, but who are a team that can shoot at will and from anywhere on the court.
So you think it's more of a negative option than a positive?
Just because like the only one who can really score from multiple areas all around the court is maybe Joel Embiid. That's like the only guy in
and then
that team.
J.J. Redick, but they're gonna lose him.
Yeah, they might lose him. You never know.
So yeah, there is more negatives than people think. I agree, because J.J. Redick, although he's not a star player or nothing, he's a huge part of the team since they don't have a lot of shooters. They have Joel Embiid, J.J. Redick, and then their 1, 3, and D
Marco
player.
Bellinelli, too, and they have Ersan Ilyasova, but they're all, I think, players that are going to be in the free agency coming up.
Right. So yeah, but compared to the other teams, I feel like it wouldn't be that big of a loss compared to the others because, you have other teams, if you tried to put LeBron in their system, they're going to have to lose a lot. And the difference is with Philly and the other teams is a lot of those teams don't have enough cap space, but Philly definitely does. And if they get rid of J.J. Redick, they will. Another positive to LeBron going to Philly is the fact that he gets to stay in the East. And if that's good, because if he stays in the East, he doesn't have to verse like the Warriors, the Thunder, or the Rockets in the playoffs the first round and be exhausted when he gets to the finals. LeBron's always been in the East, and if he went to the West, then he would have to deal with that. So that's really good. And yes, I also feel like LeBron would slow down the younger players' like experience and getting better.
In Philly?
Yeah.
I just think that I don't think that'll really be like that big of a problem though, because I mean he will do. No,
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, he will do that, but
yeah, the thing is if you look in the past, it's LeBron's really done that in every single team he's been on, and I feel like the star players have been able to survive when they were on a different team or they're with them. It's just like the bench players and the role players that take a huge cut in their games.
Yeah, I just think though with this team, the Phillies, like it's not a LeBron team, and every team LeBron has been on, he kind of surrounds himself with a bunch of he wants to surround himself with a bunch of scorers, people that he can like dish the ball to a lot, and like with that team, you can't dish the ball as well to like Ben Simmons because he can't shoot. I mean, it's going to be a lot of like close to the basket scoring then, and that's not good because Joel Embiid can score from the outside, but I mean, I think his forte is to score from the inside. LeBron likes scoring on the inside, even though he can shoot the three. He's gotten better over his career, but at the end of the day, LeBron does like to score on the inside a lot more than he likes to score on the outside. So you have 3 players on one team that really likes to score on the inside. Now, potentially that could work out well, but at the same time, that could mess up their spacing a lot.
Right. I don't really feel like Joel Embiid's ready to spend 40 to 60% of his playing time at the three-point line. He doesn't like that.
I don't think he should ever do it though,
and that's the thing. If he went there, that would probably happen.
Yeah, he would it would have to do it unless JJ Redick takes a pay cut, which I think maybe he would, because I don't think anyone's going to pay him like how the Sixers paid him last season, because they did it just because they didn't want to be under the league minimum for the contract, like for how much they have to pay like for their total salary.
Right.
But he might take that. They have a ton of cap space, so they could re-sign JJ Redick, but they also can get some other players too. But I do think that there is another team though that could be really good for LeBron potentially.
Oh, wait, hold up. Let's just talk if it's probable. If
it's probable?
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it a good fit, and do you think Philly can get him? Yes or no?
I think Philly could obviously get him because they have the money, but I don't think it's a good fit for LeBron. I really don't.
Do you feel like there's a chance LeBron will go there? Like a good chance?
I don't think so. He does like Ben Simmons, but I think he likes the potential of Ben Simmons, like
right, because he's
what
not
he could
anything
become
right now.
He is something. He's just not good enough to play next to LeBron because he can't shoot.
Right.
LeBron needs shooters on his team.
I see everything you're saying, but I really feel like Philly does have a good chance just because LeBron announced he's not taking a pay cut, and there's really only like 3 teams on there that aren't going to go above the salary cap. But I've been saying for a year that Philly, but it's more of like my second option now. But I really do feel like they could get LeBron if other players in the team, if like JJ Redick or another shooter takes a pay cut. Right.
Well, I do think that it is possible because like LeBron did say that he doesn't want to take a pay cut and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, he won't have to take a pay cut on the Lakers. And
right.
The Lakers have a lot more shooters than Philly does. Now, the Philly have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, which are very good players, and Joel Embiid especially. I think he's a great player in this league. Like if he stays healthy, he could definitely be a great player in this league. But if you look at the Lakers, they have Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram. I think Lonzo would play really well and would definitely get better playing next to LeBron because he won't have as much focus on him when he's on the court. And the Lakers have played really well when he was on the court. They think they won more games than they lost with him on the court. And who else do they have? There's Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and
Lonzo Ball.
There's Lonzo, but there was one other guy, right?
Josh Hart.
Yeah, and I just feel like at the end of the day, they have more weapons in their arsenal that LeBron could actually play with, and the potential of getting Paul George is really high there.
And Paul George and LeBron James actually talked about going to LA this summer. ESPN made a article about that, so that could be a big factor too. And the biggest factor, of course, is can they pay LeBron, because as I said, he's not going to take a pay cut, and Lakers are one of those teams that actually can pay LeBron. They have a lot of cash they could spend now since all their players are pretty much rookies.
And they also have Brook Lopez too. And I know Brook Lopez he doesn't really do as much as he used to back in the day, but he can still shoot and he could still rebound, not as effectively as he used to, but he is enough for that Lakers team to be successful in that area. Like they'll at every single position they will have someone who can score. And now Lonzo, he does have problems scoring, but I do think that he was kind of iced by his dad. I think that his dad kind of put too much on his shoulders, and so that is a little hard to play with. But at the end of the day, Lonzo did get still average 7 assists and 7 rebounds a game. And I think it was it 9 points a game or around that?
Yeah, I think it was 10.7.
Yeah, and it's like, I think with just having LeBron, having all those weapons around him, I think he's just going to be an even better player than he was prior. And so I really think LeBron would be a good fit on the Lakers if that's where he wants to go. My favorite fit, though, would be the Rockets.
Yeah, so the Rockets are, I would say, about a month ago was the favorite for this until all the Spurs and Lakers talk came out. But before that, everyone was like, LeBron should go to Houston so he has a chance with the Warriors because he just got swept and he can't do anything. And the whole narrative. on paper, that team would be amazing. Chris Paul, James Harden, and LeBron, and then their supporting cast of really good players. The
If
problem,
they can keep also like
yeah.
Clint Capella, that would be very
Yeah.
important too.
But that's the problem is the fact their money situation. Clint Capella, a lot of teams are offering him big contracts, and Chris Paul wants a max, and James Harden's already on a max deal. So there is no way they'd be able to pay LeBron unless they got rid of some players, and LeBron would be willing to take a pay cut. So even though if he joined this team, they would be the clear favorite to win everything, because they're just on paper, they'd look so good. I don't feel like there's any chance of LeBron going there just for that reason.
Yeah, and also like with the whole Chris Paul scenario too, it's like he's going to be good for maybe like another season or two. Like he's going to play at a very high level, but after that, like he's not going to be the same player anymore.
We don't know how he's going to be. He's definitely not going to pull LeBron and still be good in his 15th season, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, he is older than LeBron too, actually.
Yeah,
so
he played college.
It's going to be a short run. They're going to have to win in the first like 2 to 3 years, and which they could probably do. But I think that at the end of the day, it's like if he wants to like a win now situation, a for sure thing, he could definitely do that with the Rockets. And I mean, it wouldn't be for sure because there are the Warriors still, but the Warriors. I mean, hey, he could even go to the Warriors if they somehow just found a way to clear up cap space for him.
Yeah. So, Houston, in my opinion, I don't really feel like it's a good option. But surprisingly, and a lot of people are going to hate this, but the Warriors actually have a lot of options to what they can do with this LeBron situation. Because, you know, if they don't get AD, they could just be like, hey, I mean, I guess we can try for LeBron too. And obvious.
Well, AD, though, they'd have to trade for him.
Right.
And for that to work, too, they would have to get Anthony Davis. If they got Anthony Davis, they would trade Clay, and they'd have to trade probably Clay and Draymond Green. And they would have to get, I'm assuming, I'm not completely sure how much money Anthony Davis is getting paid this season, but they're
going to offer him the max after after this one, so it shouldn't even matter.
Yeah, but it's still hard to say, like, would they even have enough money to have LeBron, KD, and Steph? Because KD has said he's not taking a pay cut after this, too, I believe.
He said that?
I believe he kind of had that connotation. Maybe he didn't say it in those exact words, but it did seem like he was like, well, I kind of wanted to get paid what he's worth. But with Draymond wanting the Supermax, too, it's like, what's going to happen to that team?
Right. Klay Thompson's taking a pay cut, and Draymond's asking for the max. So Klay Thompson, that's good, taking a pay cut. But if you want LeBron, you got to get him out of there. And there's no way they'd be able to pay Draymond the max and
have
get
LeBron.
And I feel like everyone knows, as good as a player Draymond is, he's not a max player. You know, he's really good, but he's not a max. And so we feel like the only reason why he said that is because he wants to stay on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to sign him first, and then trade him away if they want to do that. And if they have to sign him to a max deal, they might not sign him any money at all, and he become an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, eventually he might become an unrestricted free agent.
So that's the problem. It's just like they can't get LeBron unless they do that. And and just think about it like this. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green have to go in order to get LeBron. And then you have Steph Curry who's on a max deal, and then you have KD asking for more. And it's really hard keeping Iguodala around. They every year it seems like he's gonna leave because they're not giving him a lot, but he ends up staying. So if they get LeBron, they're probably gonna have to get rid of Iguodala too, and that's 3 solid players.
They'd have to make a lot of trades to get LeBron James. Now the Rockets would just really have to just make one trade. They'd have to trade Ryan Anderson. Wow, that would be ridiculously hard to do, but that does seem more likely than the Warriors trading like almost 3 people to ensure that they can have like a healthy team with LeBron. Like that seems it does seem like, when you think about it, right, doesn't it seem like a little far-fetched?
Yeah. Also, you got to take into consideration that the teams that LeBron's joined, they weren't already the best teams in the league. If you think about it, like when he joined the Heat, they weren't good, but then he got Chris Bosh to join the team with them, and then when he came back to Cleveland, Kyrie Irving was just becoming a superstar, and they had one of the worst records in the league. So I don't really feel like either team is that probable of an option for me. for LeBron to go. Another team that everyone keeps talking about as of recent are the Spurs. I don't know why everyone's really talking about them or giving that much credit, but we'll review it anyway.
Yeah,
So,
I don't really think that LeBron should want to go to the Spurs just because, like, I mean, Kawhi Leonard is amazing. You know, he's a great player. I love him. But then again, he doesn't really even know if he wants to be on the Spurs.
yeah, they offered him a max deal and he hasn't even taken it yet, you know?
Yeah, and this is the whole thing too. It's like they have Kawhi and
LaMarcus.
and basically then if they have
And
LeBron
then everyone around
too,
him is like a good defender with some 3-point.
they're all like role players essentially, but like not role player. They're better than role players, but they're not the type of players usually LeBron likes on his team.
Right.
And for him and Kawhi Leonard to play next to each other, that could be a really good, or it might not work out. Like I don't know how LeBron and Kawhi mesh together.
Kawhi Leonard seems like he's really unselfish, despite this year of him not playing. He seems like a really unselfish player.
Well, on the court, he's a really
Yeah.
unselfish player. Yes.
But that's what the thing I'm thinking is I don't know if Kawhi would be fine playing next to LeBron. He would have to take he'd probably only average like 22 points a game if LeBron left. He's averaging like 25 now, but 22, 25 is still like pretty major, and it would definitely like kind of ruin his legacy. If you look at all the other players, they kind of fit around him, but I don't really think that they're that good enough. The only upside I'd say is the fact that Greg Popovich is the coach, and LeBron's never had a good coach in his life.
Yeah, and LeBron does really like Greg Popovich a lot. Like they seem to be really good friends, and Greg Popovich really wants him. So if he could somehow get LeBron to take a pay cut to be on his team, that would be cool. But then
That's the other thing is like I don't think the Spurs have money, but if they're gonna offer Kawhi a max, they might have to have LeBron get a little bit of a pay cut.
But at the same time, it's like I just don't think that that's the type of team LeBron will want to be on just because of the amount of weapons they have. Like out of scoring, like they don't have a lot of scorers. Watching that Warriors Spurs series, it was pretty bad. It showed you how they really couldn't score without Kawhi Leonard, and that speaks to how good Kawhi Leonard is because. He would have helped that team tremendously if he was playing on the court. But at the same time, it's like I just feel like LeBron might have better chances on other teams. I think he might even have a better chance if he played on the Pelicans than if he played on the Spurs.
Right. Pelicans weren't really an option on there, and everyone keeps talking about it. But Brandon, if you want to talk about it, take the mic.
I think it could be a good option, but for LeBron. But at the same time, it's really hard because he keeps on moving from place to place, and it does get kind of hard to go to a team that's kind of already like established because usually those teams already have their players paid in this type of league because the great teams now are teams that are bought, and so like. If you want to jump on board, you're going to have to take a pay cut, and LeBron's not wanting to take a pay cut, so it kind of really, like, limits where he can go.
I also feel like LeBron wouldn't want to live in New Orleans.
Yeah, maybe.
His family did say they wanted to live in L.A., and I think an article came out, this came out, and I don't think anyone wanted it to, that they already signed up for, like, a high school in L.A.
He already, what does he say, like, he already selected a school that he wanted to play with in L.A.
Right.
I think Gary Payton released that news.
That was kind of private. I was like, why would you release that?
Well, he releases that news, right? And it's pretty influential because if you think about it, it's like, what is Bronny going to do? Just live by himself in L.A.?
Right. So
he could. LeBron has a ton of money, but
definitely-
like, why would he do that?
Yeah.
It's like a 14-year-old kid.
People are definitely talking about that more. Like, that brings the LA factor up a lot, and then the conversation with Paul George. So, yeah, that's why it's, like, number one for everyone right now. We have 2 teams left. Did we talk about the Cavs?
No, we didn't talk about the Cavs. I just really don't think he's staying with the Cavs, though.
Let's just go a brief rundown. We don't really think he's staying with the Cavs. The only situation where I can think in my head that he stays with the Cavs is if he gets someone like Paul George to join the team. Even that wouldn't be good enough to beat any Houston or Warriors team, I feel like, in my head. So I don't really feel like he's going to stay with the Cavs. The only reason why is because of that and if his family wants to live in Cleveland.
And I don't know why he would want to stay with Ty Lue. I really don't.
There's so many reasons why he wouldn't want to stay there at all.
Yeah, and then there's the coach who just
Yeah.
seems like he can't coach. But then again, it's also a matter of LeBron being a coach sometimes and
Right.
running the team. So there are a lot of problems with there are a lot of problems in general with LeBron. But I know one team that people have been talking about recently. Well, not a lot of problems in general about LeBron, but how he. Let me rephrase that about how he works with his team sometimes, because he does kind of it has to be a certain way or it can't function, and so sometimes that's a problem, and that's why for me it's hard to pinpoint exactly what team is the best for him, because it seems like every team LeBron has to go to, the team has to be directly made for him. And so that's why it's hard for me to decide what team would be good for LeBron, because it's hard to say what team is good for him, because in his whole career, teams that have been good for him have only been teams that have been made for him, and a team that he's jumping into, none of them are going to be made for LeBron.
Yeah, it would be so not likely of LeBron to join a team where they already have a system going with really good ball movement. And everyone gets the ball. You get the ball, you pass it right away, and you always find the right guy. That really doesn't seem like.
No, LeBron would try to take over and just try to bring the ball up all the time.
There'd be a lot of drama if he joined the Spurs with that too. Could you imagine if he tried to do that in the Spurs?
Well,
Popovich would probably be livid.
He would have to listen to Popovich. But I think, though, because everyone's been talking about this, so I just want to bring it up. So people ask Kyrie Irving a few, I think it was yesterday or earlier today, how would he feel if LeBron somehow came onto the Celtics, they picked him up in the free agency. And me personally, I just feel why would you do that if you're the Celtics? I know LeBron is a great player. Well, he's one of the greatest players of all time, but I feel your team is already good enough with your core. You just need Kyrie Irving to be healthy.
Here's the thing with that. I don't want the Celtics to get LeBron, but I see why they want him. Just for the reason of, even though your team's good and you have a good core, it could get better. And that's kind of what they did with they replaced Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and Avery Bradley with Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. And that was great.
Well, and they picked up Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
I just feel the players that they have now, though, are as long as they have Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, and Jason Tatum keeps on getting better, and I think he's going to, I feel that those types of players will play into that system perfectly, because they do play that system really well. Kyrie, he is a player that likes to have the ball in his hands, but even throughout the season, he showed that he's okay with giving the ball to his teammates too. And obviously LeBron likes to do that too, but I feel there's more freedom with Kyrie on the Celtics than there will be with LeBron on the Celtics. So I just feel with this team currently, why would you change anything if it's working?
Yeah, I see that. I'd see the difference between last time of just creating a new team that's better is that now the Celtics have a lot of young guys. And they got to ask themselves, am I willing to give up any of these guys for LeBron? First off, you'd have to give up Gordon Hayward. And I think everyone would be fine with that.
You'd have to trade him right away.
Yeah. I think everyone would be fine with that, just because the replacement of LeBron for Hayward would be not that big of a deal for people, because everyone, even though LeBron's older, he's literally the best player in the league.
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest problem that a lot of the Celtics fans would have was either getting rid of Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, because they both have a lot of potential, and I feel if you needed LeBron, you'd have to get rid of one of those guys, and they're not ready for that.
Well, they would help. I just feel when I think about it, though, because they're gonna have to get rid of one of those guys, and you're correct. But the thing that gets me most nervous about that is just getting rid of Kyrie, though, because that's who they traded for. And I know LeBron is great, but it looked like if Kyrie didn't get injured, without even having Gordon Hayward on the team, they would have easily beat the Cavs in the playoffs. It wouldn't have even been a competition. They would have beat the Cavs easily if Kyrie was there. So with that in perspective, it's they're going to have Kyrie and Gordon Hayward back next season, and maybe potentially some type of draft pick that could help them out even more. And they could also sign other guys. It doesn't have to be LeBron James. Now, obviously, you can never go wrong with signing LeBron James because he is LeBron, but you can mess up something a little that's already going really well over there, and that's what I'd be afraid of with Boston, is that hey, Brad Stevens is a young coach. LeBron always seems to try to take over with all the coaches. Brad Stevens' system is working, so why mess it up now?
Yeah, Kyrie Irving is a huge factor in this. I agree because I think people forgot the narrative or the whole reason why Kyrie left was because he wanted his own team and he didn't want to be with LeBron. And I think a lot of and it's really aggravating when people are like, well, I don't really think that's why. Like, people are saying that right now, and it's just like, well, you weren't saying that when it first happened. Everyone was like, oh, because he doesn't want to play with LeBron. He literally threatened to get a surgery on his leg if he stayed with the Cavs. That's what he said.
So he wouldn't play.
So I don't really feel like adding LeBron would help the situation at all because you'd have to get rid of two players and then you make Kyrie be like, all right, well, I'm going to go sign with the Knicks just because I don't want to play with LeBron. So you might lose 3 players just because you signed LeBron. And then, of course, the coaching thing where LeBron might mess it up is kind of what I talked about with Popovich too. That could definitely happen. So I would say that Boston, I would say the probability is a no that LeBron ends up there just because of that. And the thing is Boston and LA, every year, they always talk about how they're going to get someone. The only person they've gotten like the last 5 years was Gordon Hayward. Neither team have gotten like almost anyone. But so I don't really feel like...
I also feel like, though, one thing to note with Boston, though, is that if you get LeBron, like, he's 33 years old, and Kyrie is 26. Like, that's a bigger window to build off of than having LeBron.
Celtics are for the future. Seems like they're going to be a dynasty with all their young players that they have.
It's possible. I mean, Kyrie's super young. And so the thing is, like, yeah, I know LeBron will get you everything right now, which the Boston Celtics could do with their team already. Just how it is. They could win stuff. They could win championships right now if everyone stays healthy.
If there's no injuries and stuff.
Yeah, if everyone stays healthy. But the thing is, though, it's like, with LeBron, you have a window, a smaller window. With Kyrie, you have a bigger window. And so I just feel like it's probably not the most likely place for him. But where do you think, out of all these teams, Boston, Cavs, LA, Spurs, Philly, Houston, like the Warriors, what team do you really think is going to be the most likely to pick up LeBron?
I'll give you my top 3, starting from 3. Number 3, I'd say the Spurs, just because of their space they have. And even though it doesn't seem like it fit the right system, I feel like everyone always talks about how LeBron always wants a great coach. And I know we both feel like that wouldn't be a good fit for him. We're not LeBron. I feel like LeBron will put that into consideration a lot more than the other teams. My second team is the Lakers. There's been so much talk around it, obviously, because of his son, signing up for high school there and bringing Paul George there. And it's just in the news every day. And I think that's what kind of happened with KD towards the end of his free agency with the Warriors, where everyone's like talking about it. And no one thought it was realistic, but then he actually did it. So that's why I give Lakers such a high chance. And then my number 1 is Philly, just because last year, like almost a whole year ago, I said LeBron will be on the 76ers next season. Well, maybe not a year ago, because as soon as I tweeted that, as soon as like Ben Simmons started like having a really good year. So yeah, and I just want to be right. Like, I'd called it like a year ahead. That'd be awesome.
I mean, yeah, I guess that would be cool if you called it, but I personally think, for me, I think the most likely is either the Lakers or Houston. If Houston can get Ryan Anderson out of there, which, I mean, harder things, people have done harder things, and so it is possible to get Ryan Anderson out of there. Now, I don't know if that's the best move for Houston as a franchise. I feel like maybe for LA, it might be better for them as a franchise to get LeBron, because they'll probably have a bigger window than Houston will, because a lot, like as I said earlier, Chris Paul is not going to be the same Chris Paul he is like maybe 2 or 3 years like going ahead of this time. But I do think with the Lakers, there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of room for the players to develop, and that could be good for LeBron, because if those players do develop next season, which I think that they probably will get better. It could be really helpful for LeBron, especially an aging LeBron, and to have Paul George on the side too, who is still young, and have all these players that can score, that can contribute and play in a system that LeBron likes to play with, a system that he kind of, he likes to run. And if he has all those scorers around him, players that can do stuff, I think that the Lakers would have a better chance at winning with LeBron, winning it all than the Cavs team that he's currently on. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what you have to look for, improvement. And it just seems most likely because they have the cap space. So, I mean, it's not probably that hard to improve from the Cavs team he was on. But at the end of the day, it's like they have everything LeBron wants, and they have the school that his son wants to go to in that same area. So
you're saying Lakers?
I really think that it probably will happen with the Lakers after that news
Lakers,
of Gary Payton
Rockets.
too. If not the Lakers, then probably the Rockets if they can get rid of Ryan Anderson. Just because like it just seems like that team actually seems like a really good fit for LeBron, the Rockets. But if they don't get that trade, then that's not going to happen.
I want to make one more point. If LeBron goes out west, in my personal opinion, I've been talking about this for a year. If LeBron goes out west, the East isn't as bad as it used to be, but it's still pretty bad. But if LeBron went out west, then I feel like the seedings of the playoffs would change. Because it's always been East versus West, and every single year we always talk about how bad the East is and how they should change it because LeBron goes to the finals every year. Not because it's a cakewalk or anything that people make it out to be. It's just because the teams are a little easier than in the West. And the only reason I feel like why they haven't changed it is just because LeBron has stayed out East. If it went West, all the East teams would be bad, and I feel like the NBA would be like, okay, we need to do something about this because no team in the East is going to compete with anyone in the West. You can make an argument for the Celtics, but I feel like everyone would know that the three teams, because potentially the Lakers next year, if LeBron goes there, you'd have the Lakers, Rockets, and Warriors, and they're arguably all better than the Celtics right now. And I feel so that's just why I feel like they would change the seedings because of, like, just imagine how bad the East would be. Like, I don't really feel like anyone would be interested in watching the Eastern Conference playoffs or anything like that.
I mean, I feel like it's a stretch though because it's been like that for so long. But
they changed the All-Star game recently, and it's been like that for so long.
Yeah, but the All-Star game doesn't really matter. Like, the playoffs matter. But at the same time, it's like, I do think that the Celtics are a really good team, though, with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. I think, to me personally, I think they're better than the Rockets, that Celtics team. If they have a healthy team, I think they're better than the Rockets right then and there just because, like, all of the weapons that they have.
I feel like they're better than the Rockets?
Yeah, because, like, look at it this way. No matter how they sub, there are always going to be scorers and good players on the team if everyone stays healthy. No matter what rotation they have, it's always going to work out. And with the Rockets, it's like they were playing like a 6 or 7-man rotation. And at the end of the day, it's like if you have to do that all the way, if LeBron's in the West, right? If you have to do that the whole playoffs, you have to do that like the whole time, your players are going to get tired, especially with an aging roster like the Rockets are probably going to have with like one of their main guys being Chris Paul. Because Chris Paul, at the end of the day, it wasn't James Harden that kept them alive. It was Chris Paul. And if he starts aging, like how that happens when you just get older, if he doesn't play at the same level as he played as before, I think that the Celtics would easily beat the Rockets if they don't have LeBron James or if they don't add more depth to the roster.
I guess we'll just have to see what happens. I feel like the matchups would be really good. I feel like the Rockets would end up winning that series, but hey, I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think if LeBron goes to the West, I think Celtics are going to the finals next year. I mean, anything can happen.
Most definitely.
But I feel like the Lakers, Zeke feels like the Sixers, mostly because of his prediction.
Okay,
but
the prediction, it's not my main point. But I really want it to be right, and I feel like everything I've already said about the Sixers, those are my main points. But if I was right, I just can't wait to tell everyone I told you so.
All right, well, that's it for today. This is the Unbearables podcast. Remember to check in the description to see the link for the Twitter account. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and this is
Zeke Cappel.
And thanks for listening.